Hi, I'm Daniel Wong, and today we're going to be playing Budget Mono Blue Taking Turns. So a lot of people have asked me about getting into the Taking Turns deck on a tight budget, and I think this kind of list is one of the best places to start. This particular list comes in at just under $200, according to MTG Goldfish, and it does so by foregoing some of the big money cards in the deck, namely Jace the Mind Sculptor and Snapcaster Mage. Anyway, let's jump right into it. So we have 7 Howling Mine effects, split between 3 literal Howling Mine and 4 Dictate of Kruphix. We have 11 Time Walks, which is a lot more than I usually play, and this is because we don't have Snapcaster Mage, meaning we want the density of Time Walks to be higher. So we've got 4 Time Warps, 3 Part the Waterveil, which notably is our only way to win the game pre-board, so we need 3-ish to make sure that we're going to win, and 4 Temporal Mastery. The only way we really have to set that up is Serum Visions, because we don't have Jace, but I think having 4 Temporal Mastery is worth it just for those natural miracles that happen sometimes. We have 4 Gigadrowse and 3 Exhaustion as our pseudo extra turns. We have 5 cantrips, 4 Serum Visions, and an Opt. And then we have 7 assorted interactive spells. I have 1 Spell Snare, 1 Echoing Truth, 1 Snapback, 1 Delay, 1 Remand, 1 Cryptic Command, and 1 Commandeer. This entire section of slots is extremely flexible, so you can put in anything that would be good in your local meta or that you happen to have lying around so that you don't have to buy remands or whatever. Yeah. And the mana base is 22 islands and 1 Mikokoro. Now, one of the reasons I'm really excited about this mana base is it allows us to play Tempest Djinn in the sideboard. So Tempest Djinn, when it came out in Dominaria, was a card that I thought could slide in really well to a budget list, especially now that Thing in the Ice has gotten a little bit more expensive. Tempest Djinn is another way to finish the game without necessarily needing to land Howling Mine. For example, if you play your Tempest Djinn on turn 3, comes in with 3 power. Turn 4, you play another land, maybe cast an Exhaustion, hit in for 4. Turn 5, play another land, cast a Time Warp, hit in for 5, hit in for 5 again. Your opponent just took 14 damage. You've almost won that game. The rest of the sideboard, we've got some Ceremonious Rejection for those artifact decks in Tron, a couple Negates, a Commandeer, Tormod's Crypt for those graveyard decks, and a couple bounce spells. We've got Echoing Truth, Whelming Wave, and Aetherspouts. So Whelming Wave and Aetherspouts are 2 cards that you probably don't see very often. Whelming Wave effectively bounces all creatures. Notably, I did have to look up Gurmag Angler, which is a fish, which means it will not get bounced because it's not a... Sorry, it will get bounced because it is not a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent. And Aetherspouts is kind of a bad Settle the Wreckage, but it stays in blue, which allows us to have that very cheap mana base and also allows us to play Tempest Djinn. Anyway, let's run this through a competitive league and see how it goes. Okay, here we are for round 1. We've won the die roll. This hand looks pretty good. We've got 3 lands, we've got a Dictate. We have a Commandeer for interaction if that's going to be good, so that's kind of cool. If we need to use Gigadrowse to slow down the opponent, we will. But hopefully we'll just be able to land this Dictate on turn 3 and go from there. Let's see what we're up against. I don't think I'm going to take this. We don't have any creatures in the deck, so that's never going to do anything. I do want to slow the opponent down. I'm not sure if it's better to just take this Mox Opal now, which notably is turned on, or to just Gigadrowse something. I think I am going to Commandeer this. It's a little bit questionable because we're basically never going to have this Mox Opal on, but I think stopping our opponent from casting a 1-drop and then following up with Springleaf Drum for another 1-drop is worth it. It's definitely a little bit of a questionable play here, but we'll see how it turns out. I think the opponent is probably reading all this stuff and trying to figure out what just happened. So notably, in that reminder text there, if that spell is an artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker, the permanent enters the battlefield under your control. Oh, there we go. We have this Mox Opal now, and hopefully the opponent doesn't have another one. Nice. So our Affinity opponent didn't actually play a creature on turn 1, which is great. Of course, our hand is not looking that good, so we're just going to pretend that we have a counterspell and go from there. Yeah, so if the opponent had played the Signal Pest on turn 1, then they would have also gotten to play maybe another 1-drop. Okay, there's an Arcbound Ravager. So we didn't slow the opponent down that much. It maybe would have been better to keep that Gigadrowse, but we will see. If the opponent doesn't eat any of their artifacts, we're actually not looking at that much damage right now. It's just 2 off of the Arcbound Ravager plus Signal Pest, but of course, okay, a little bit more now. And of course, if the opponent decides to eat anything, then we're going to be taking a whole lot more damage than that. Let's see, this is 4 right now. We are going to die pretty soon. Let's see. So 4 takes us to 16. We can't do anything about that. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13, 14. Yeah, I think we're pretty much dead to the opponent playing anything, so we really need to draw something good off this Dictate. Like maybe an Exhaustion, maybe a Gigadrowse. Cryptic Command would be decent. Drawing a bounce spell and then having the opponent going all in would be cool. Alright, well, at least that's something. Don't think we're dead to Arcbound Ravager putting counters on Signal Pest, so that's cool. Yeah, this is 1, 2, 3. Shouldn't even sack that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, opponent's just gonna choose to tap their stuff instead. All right, we still need to draw something good. That is not quite it. It would be cool if we had Metalcraft and could cast this part the Waterveil, but we can't. I'm not sure if we're dead here. I haven't done the math. Let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think we are dead. Oh yeah, we're super dead to that. Okay, well, let's pretend that we have something and see if the opponent psychs themselves out somehow. We are super dead. It's good to see how the opponent's attacking here, though, just to know what kinds of things they would play around or not play around. But yeah, that's a lot of damage. Okay, over in the sideboard, we have Ceremonious Rejection, Echoing Truth seems good, Aetherspouts seems good. Whelming Wave, I think, is actually kind of underwhelming here because of how cheap the opponent's creatures are, meaning they're going to just get to replay them. And also, if the opponent has a man land, if they have the Inkmoth Nexus or Blinkmoth, then Whelming Wave isn't going to work at all. I think we're also going to board into our Tempest Djinn plan, because I think we're going to try to either block or kill the opponent with a Tempest Djinn. Let's see, this is 8 cards to bring in, what to take out. Spell Snare is pretty good against things like Arcbound Ravager. Remand and Delay, I think, are pretty weak. Snapback is fine, especially when the opponent goes all in on an Arcbound Ravager. Especially if we're tapped out, that would be pretty sick. Commandeer, I think, is pretty weak. Because we're bringing in Tempest Djinn, I think we can afford to cut at least 1 part the Waterveil, maybe 2. What else? I think we can afford to cut at least 1 Howling Mine, maybe 2. What else? This is a little bit tricky. Let's cut 1 more Howling Mine, 1 part, and 1 land. Yeah, let's try it like that. Okay, game 2, we are going first. Ooh. That is rough, drawing the Mikokoro with Tempest Djinn. Maybe I should have boarded out Mikokoro instead of Island. We do have Ceremonious Rejection, which is cool. And we do have Aetherspouts, which is also cool. We kind of have a way to win with this Tempest Djinn, but we do need to draw 2 lands, and it may have been a mistake to board out an Island instead of that Mikokoro. This is definitely questionable, but if we get to draw another land, we get to start activating Mikokoro and drawing towards more lands or more action. So I think this is fine on the strength of Ceremonious Rejection and then hopefully drawing into more gas with this Mikokoro at some point. But this is definitely a questionable one. And ideally, we're going to win this game with Tempest Djinn at some point. Back my beginning of combat stop. I'm not going to counter that one. I don't think we can really stop our opponent from getting a bunch of mana for now, so I think I'm going to try to counter a heavy hitter like an Arcbound Ravager or a Cranial Plating. This is, of course, always where the Temporal Masteries are. Right there on top before you have your second land in play. Okay, so if the opponent plays something big like a Cranial Plating or a Steel Overseer or an Arcbound Ravager, then we're definitely going to counter that. Bam. All right, and now we would really like to draw an island. That's not it. Oh boy, that may have been a bad keep on my part. We'll see what we can do. The good news is the opponent isn't really doing anything either, but I think the opponent has a lot of gas in hand. Yeah, that's that one's pretty good. That's pretty medium. Well, the opponent only has one card in hand, so that's kind of cool, but we're not really doing much of anything. All right, there's our land. So we have the option to Gigadrowse to save some damage from this Master of Ethereum, but I don't think that's going to be worth it unless the opponent has something like a Cranial Plating. Okay, yeah, 2 infect, 6, 7, 8, 9 normal damage. Oh man, that's quite a lot. The opponent even gets to activate this Ink Moth and make it more. That is quite a lot of damage. Wonder why the opponent didn't attack with this one. That is kind of interesting. Well, we will try to draw a land. It's not quite it. All right, this is just a redraw. Unless the opponent has something like a Spell Pierce, but we're not beating a Spell Pierce here, so. We are not drawing very well. Okay, let's Exhaustion the opponent and see what we can do. What we wanted to happen was draw a land there and work towards this Aetherspouts, which I think is going to be how we get rid of this for now. Ooh, that's not good for us. Yeah, we really need to draw 2 lands off the top. That's not quite it. Yeah, I don't think there's a way out of this one. We can tap these 2 things, but we're really not drawing towards anything. Yeah, let's just go on to the next game. That's unfortunate. All right, here we are for round 2. We've won the die roll. This hand is not good, but I am going to keep it because we technically have a Mine effect and we get a lot of looks towards an actual Howling Mine or Dictate. We don't quite have interaction, but at least we're going to hit land drops. And there's the Dictate we wanted. We're actually not really going to have time for this Serum Visions anytime soon, but I do think we want it because we want to set up our draws starting on, I guess, turn 4, since we're going to hold up Remand on turn 2, probably cast Dictate on turn 3, and then cast Serum Visions on turn 4. Island Pass. Okay, so this is probably a thing in the ice deck, but it could also be blue-white control that didn't have a white source for some reason. I'm guessing this is a thing in the ice deck. Most likely Phoenix. It's kind of weird that they have Island instead of like Spirebluff Canal or something, but... Alright, I'm maybe wrong about that. I'm gonna play Mikokoro. If the opponent is on blue-white control, I think we're probably going to want to Mikokoro instead of casting Dictate. I think we're going to want to cast Dictate with Remand backup. So in the meantime, I think we're just going to try to put the opponent at a bunch of cards in hand with this Mikokoro and make them discard. Yeah, the opponent is on blue-white control, so I'm not going to cast any spells into potential counter spells just yet. Lands are actually quite good. Having the opponent discard. Wow, they discarded Think Twice. Okay. Lands are actually pretty decent. Yeah, well, Serum Visions this turn, so we still have the option to dictate if the opponent like taps out for a Jace or something, although we'll probably just remand that if that's what happens. Snapback is going to be very bad. And I think we have enough islands in hand already. We already have 3. I don't think we need this one. Alright, so if the opponent taps out for Jace or something next turn, we're probably just going to... Oh wait, we drew Commandeer. So we have the option of casting this Dictate. Now that the opponent is tapped out. We would also have Commandeer up for... I should have put a stop at my end step. Looks like we're not doing that. The Snapcaster Mage isn't going to be much of a clock. I think I'm just going to keep drawing cards with Mikokoro. All right. Got a lot of lands in hand. I think we can afford to discard one. This Snapcaster Mage is not too much of a clock. Let's see. We can remand that, or we can Commandeer it. Or we can just play Dictate. I'm just going to play Dictate, and then what I think is going to happen is our opponent is going to tap down for either Teferi or Jace, and then we're going to Commandeer it, and it's going to be really sick. So let's have that happen, and we don't need this island. Okay, we're taking our snap beats. We still have another 8 turns of this before we die. All right, play your Planeswalker. You know you want to. Play your Planeswalker. Ah, that's unfortunate. All right. Could opt, or we could just leave it in hand as a blue card. I'm just gonna leave it in hand. All right, we've got ourselves quite a few lands. I wonder if the opponent is adding more pressure to the board here. Something like a Vendilion Click would be quite bad for us. I think we'd be priced into remanding that. Let's see. Another Snapcaster Mage is actually kind of problematic. I am going to remand this, just because then if the opponent taps out for it, then they're not getting any value. Actually, does that sound worth it? That doesn't really sound worth it. Yeah, that doesn't really sound worth it. You know what? I'm going to opt and see if we can find Spell Snare. That's really unfortunate because that will not be the first card that we've drawn. Okay. And I think I would rather leave up Mikokoro because I think the opponent would just replay Snapcaster, and them casting Opt is not really the deal breaker here. It's more them getting a much faster clock. So now that we are under pressure, we actually need to start doing stuff. Luckily, this Exhaustion will actually have text on it, meaning it buys us a turn of Snapcaster beats. Field of Ruin, huh? Alright, well, let's go ahead and activate this. Alright, Gigadrowse is going to be good. So when we're ready to go off, we will Gigadrowse the opponent, and then... Oh, nice. So Field of Ruin means we're going to shuffle, which means the Serum Visions isn't going to set up very well. 5... Yeah, and we might just Gigadrowse at the opponent's end step anyway, so I think it's better to just have a lot of mana open. So I guess that means we're just discarding Island Serum Visions. Kind of weird. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Okay. Interesting. I thought the opponent would have gone for the Field of Ruin there. All right, so we are going to need to do something soon. All right, the opponent has a lot of blue sources. So Field of Ruin represents a blue source that Gigadrowse can't really tap. I'm going to wait one more turn. Am I? I am going to wait one more turn. So the reason I'm waiting one more turn is because we really only have one Time Walk effect anyway. Exhaustion maybe will count, but maybe won't. So I don't think it's quite worth it. Wow, we have a lot of Gigadrowses. That is a lot of Gigadrowses. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to draw quite that many. I'm not sure exactly what to discard here. I kind of want to discard 2 Gigadrowses, to be honest. Cryptic. Bounce that. Yeah, okay. We can't let that happen. So we need our lands, basically. So we're actually just going to do this. And I think this is actually too many Gigadrowses. I think I'm actually going to just exile 2 of them. So the plan here is to just bounce one of the opponent's lands, one of their blue lands specifically. Bam. And this means we're going to be able to Gigadrowse one fewer thing because they have one fewer land that we need to worry about. Again, I am not going to activate Mikokoro here just because we want to get the full Gigadrowse. We're going to try to go off next turn. In fact, we kind of have to because we're under too much pressure from these Snapcasters. So we're going to take this hit. We're going to wait for the opponent to play a land, and then at the end step, we're going to try to tap all our opponent's stuff. So the opponent could have a Cryptic Command. One of the worst things they could do is bounce Dictate, but if they do that, we'll have Exhaustion into Dictate. So we'll still, establish our combo and whatever. Establish our engine, excuse me. Colonnade, okay. So we want to tap down all their lands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's not much sense in double tapping anything because it really doesn't give us any value. If the opponent had a counterspell that they wanted to use, they would just use it on one of the things that isn't doubled. Okay, here's one of my favorite parts of Gigadrowse is figuring out what's targeted. Cool. Now let's see what happens. Okay, so the opponent has chosen to Cryptic, bouncing Dictate. Like I said, this isn't even that big of a deal. Did they counter also? Yeah, it looks like they left a Glacial Fortress up. Yeah, that's fine. So what I'm gonna do now is, let's see, we have 7 mana. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're gonna have 8 mana. So that is going to be Dictate, Exhaustion with Remand backup. Cool. So we're going to upkeep Dictate. I don't think there's a spell our opponent could realistically have here that would stop that. Okay. Now we've got Exhaustion. And then I believe I'm going to tap those 2 lands. The unfortunate part is I did kind of use all of our Gigadrowses. Maybe I should have exiled this Remand instead. But I think we're about to go off. Got a lot of lands. We just need to draw reasonably well. This is definitely a kind of risky play in that if we draw a bunch of bricks, we're going to die. But you got to trust your deck sometimes. All right, hopefully that Serum Visions will be able to set something up. All right. I think we need another land. This part will be good. And I think it's time to start killing the opponent. So the tricky part here is making sure that you don't tap the land that you're awakening. I really hope is what's going on. Great. And now I think we just have lethal in hand because we have this turn and this Temporal Mastery turn, so let's kill him. Cool. That wasn't too hard. Let's see what we've got in the sideboard. I actually think the Tempest Djinn plan is not very good here because I expect the opponent to have Jace and Teferi as ways to win the game, and Tempest Djinn gets got pretty good by both of their minuses. Negate is great though, and so is Commandeer. So we don't want that. Maybe we want 1 just as an extra way to win the game in case our parts don't get there. I feel kind of medium about this. I think the maximum number of Tempest Djinns we'd want is 1. Let's see what we're cutting. Exhaustion is usually not great. Snapback sounds pretty mediocre. Echoing Truth is very meh. The opponent could have Planeswalkers. Echoing Truthing a Planeswalker is okay. I think Tempest Djinn is probably going to be better than Echoing Truth most of the time. Yeah, let's try it like that. All right, here we are for game 2. This hand is, it's probably fine. It's definitely going to be bad if our opponent has things like Vendilion Click or Geist of St. Traft, but against a lot of hands out of a blue-white opponent, this is going to be a good hand. We're going to be hitting our land drops, and we have things to stop our opponent's typical plan. The opponent also notably did mulligan to 6, so we have a little bit of an advantage there. All right, so of course, that's, as we know, right where it belongs, on top of the deck before we play our second land. All right, so we're trying to dodge a Geist of St. Traft here. That would be the worst possible play for us. Cool, we did it. Good work, team. I think it's worth playing this Mikokoro. Start getting the card draw flowing. Well, actually, I guess we're at 7. Now the opponent's got a Field of Ruin also, so that didn't really accomplish much. Yeah, in retrospect, this is probably not worth it because we're at 7 cards and the opponent is at fewer than 7 cards. So helping them draw into stuff is pretty bad. Oh man. Let's do this. What if we bounced your Colonnade instead? Cool. That was nice. Now we have a land advantage. And we don't have to discard, and we get to keep playing lands. Yeah, I think everything about playing that Mikokoro was bad, except it happened to work out pretty okay. So well, the opponent doesn't have Cryptic Command up, so I'm actually just going to activate this again because we can't get got by a Cryptic, which is cool. If the opponent had played an untapped blue source, I think I would not have activated there so that we could have Negate up for next time we do that. Yeah, that's fine. This Field of Ruin is now permanently a waste. Okay, so we can resolve this Howling Mine unless our opponent has exactly like Spell Snare, Dispel. And even then, if we're trying really hard, we can negate the Spell Snare on Howling Mine and then Dispel or Commandeer the Dispel. Is that worth it? Opponent's at 7 cards. I feel like this is one of our best. Oh, let's play a land. I feel like this is one of our best opportunities to resolve a Howling Mine. And I think the opponent most likely has a 2-mana counterspell. So I think when they play their 2-mana counterspell, I'd like to negate it. And then when we're mostly tapped out and the opponent goes for like a Jace or something, I wanted to Commandeer, but it looks like that's just not what's happening. That is totally fine, my friend. But I'm not casting Serum Visions here, just so that we have another blue card in case we either want to leave Gigadrowse in our hand or leave Negate in our hand. Basically whatever's better for this Commandeer. Because if we cast Serum Visions, you know, we could draw Island or we could draw Howling Mine, and then we would be forced into spending Negate and Gigadrowse if we wanted to Commandeer, say, a Teferi or something. Just definitely worth it. All right. Opponent is discarding. Yeah, that second Revitalize, not really doing much either. Okay, now that we have... I guess actually not casting Serum Visions here means we have Cryptic and Negate up, so again, I think I'm just not going to cast it. And also, again, it's a blue card to feed to Commandeer if we want to do that. Kind of want to say no to this. Do I want to negate that or do I want to Cryptic that? Also, counter draw or counter bounce? So I think I'm going to Cryptic it because I don't think it gets much better than this, and the counter draw versus counter bounce is pretty tough. It would be nice if the opponent had even fewer lands than we do, so that our Gigadrowses are really covered, and also if our opponent Cryptic something. Actually, does this even matter? This might just not even matter. No, we're gonna have to go to discard if this resolves. Yeah, I think the opponent probably has a Dispel, but I'm going to counter draw with this. But we're already drawing enough cards. So the thing that I'm concerned about is we counter this, the opponent dispels back, we negate the dispel, and then they untap and slam Teferi. Then that means we'd have to get rid of Gigadrowse and Serum Visions. Whatever, that's worth it. Okay, we'll counter bounce then. Where is it? Counter bounce. Counter bounce. 4 mana. I think the opponent's going to dispel back, and we're going to negate back. This is filled with some tough choices. Either way, I feel like we're an advantage, but I think this gives us the biggest advantage. Yep. Don't want that to happen. All right, so now if the opponent just slams a Teferi or slams Jace, we're gonna try to steal it. Okay, the opponent's just not doing anything, huh? So now I think our plan is probably going to be to Gigadrowse the opponent's lands and then go off after that. So we could Serum Visions once and we still have the opponent's lands covered. So the opponent has 5 right now, we have 7. On the other hand, yeah, I think 1 Serum Visions is fine. Okay, let's see, we have 7 lands, so we are going to get to Dictate Warp if the opponent doesn't bounce our lands or stuff. That sounds pretty good. I'll put on top. All right, cool. Let's hope this works out. So we are just going to tap out the opponent and try to go off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. I didn't miscount. And even if the opponent does something like Cryptic, bounce Howling Mine, or, you know, whatever, disenchant the Howling Mine, or what else could the opponent do that would be bad? I don't know. But even if that happens, we're drawing Dictate next, which means we would get to play our land, cast Dictate, cast Time Warp. Cool things would happen. Target correctly. I think it was that one. Yeah. Isn't that fun? Okay. This is probably one of the best things the opponent could have, but again, it's just not that big of a deal. Yeah, it just is not that big of a deal. So now we get to land, Time Warp, Howling Mine. That's pretty sick. Or Serum Visions after that, rather. I guess that was pretty bad if the opponent has a... I don't think we need this. Has a Surgical Extraction, but hopefully they don't. Ooh, that's nice. Wasn't even expecting that one. Alright, now we're pretty golden. Even if the opponent Surgicals us, I don't think we care, and also I think they would have already. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty hard for us to lose from this point. Let's see, no Ghost Court is available. Yeah, let's just do this. Actually, we can Serum Visions into a land and then do that next turn. Yeah, let's do that. Well, let's do this in the right order just in case the opponent was sandbagging their we want to land, but that's pretty good too. So I don't even want to cast this Howling Mine because it just doesn't do anything. We already have tons of extra turns, and all we really want is a land, and I think we're going to draw a land. Let's see. I mean, we could tap the Snapcaster, we could cast a Howling Mine. We just don't really need to do anything here. Yeah, this is going to be all Ogre. Yep, that's fine. Go ahead and block and pretend like you have a chance. And yeah, this turn we just get to swing in for 12, and then following turn, swing in for another 12. We have super killed the opponent. Doesn't matter, does it? We don't need another land. We're gonna draw another one. Whatever. Just trying to think of what the opponent could possibly have on 0 mana that would stop us. Good old double Slaughter Pact and then Field of Ruin into their Secret Swamp. That'd be kind of cool. Alright, I'll see you for the next match. Alright, here we are for round 3. We've won the die roll. This is pretty medium. We've got only 2 lands. We really need to find both a Dictate and a land. Do you have Gigadrowse and Echoing Truth as interaction? I'm gonna keep. It's very medium though. It's definitely possible that mulliganing would have been better here, but we'll see. Also depends a lot on what we're up against. I'm guessing a Phoenix deck. Could also be Storm. We don't want that for sure. Okay. Where are our lands? I think we just went through like 6 cards without finding a land. So maybe our mulligan to 6 would not have been better than this. Serum Visions Surgical Extraction on that Thought Scour mill. Yeah, this is definitely Phoenix. So Echoing Truth is going to be pretty good there, which is cool. But we really just don't have much, including we didn't... Well, I mean, this is a redraw. It's not good, though. We really would have rather just had a land and then had the Temporal Mastery density of the deck be higher. But we're not going to not cast this here. All right. We've done it. So we really need both Dictate and more lands, which again was the concern that I had when I kept this hand, but that is neither Dictate nor land. Howling Mine, I guess, would be pretty okay too. But yeah, when you just draw non-Howling Mine spells after keeping a hand like that, it's kind of tough. Alright, so this Crackling Drake is pretty strong. I think I am going to bounce it. I mean, the other alternative is we could like spend a Gigadrowse here and then Exhaustion or something. This Gigadrowse will just save us some life. I'm just going to snap it back. The opponent can have a bunch of cards, it's fine. And I want to do this because if we draw another spell, I don't want to discard. So now we're going down to 6, up to 7 on our turn. Hopefully it's a land. But apparently our deck just doesn't quite want to cooperate. There we go. Still looking for that Dictate. So we could Gigadrowse to stop the opponent from... Oh, the opponent discarded Arclight. Obviously. All right. Let's not Gigadrowse at upkeep then. Because the opponent could have many instants. They could have, you know, Thought Scour, Opt, Manamorphose, whatever. There's the Manamorphose, and easily be able to bring back the Arclight Phoenix. And so one thing that's kind of cool about Echoing Truth is if the opponent does do something like Faithless Looting into dump 2 Phoenixes into any spell to bring back the Phoenixes. Okay. Yep, can't really do much about that. So I think we're just going to take a big hit from the Crackling Drake and then Exhaustion the opponent. Another option, again, is to Gigadrowse here and then Exhaustion the opponent and not take a hit, but I don't think that's quite worth it here. We could also just Gigadrowse at our opponent's beginning of combat instead of playing the Exhaustion, and I think that's probably better. Oh, what? Shocked on the Steam events? What's going on here? Opt? How many spells did are we getting Surgically Extracted? There's only 2 spells, right? I don't think this is coming back. Well, I mean, technically 3 spells with Crackling Drake, but, you know, instant and sorcery spells, what I mean. Are getting Surgically Extracted. It's a good thing we have differently named interaction. So we could Echoing Truth the Arclight Phoenix, we could Echoing Truth the Crackling Drake. Again, I just don't feel like either one is worth it. I'd rather take a hit from Phoenix here, take a hit from Phoenix and Crackling Drake next turn, and then Exhaustion the opponent. Because we are at 20, we haven't taken a single point of damage yet, which is, you know, pretty cool in terms of being alive. Actually, how much damage would that be, though? 3 from Arclight, another 3 from second Arclight. Attack is 6, 14. And then Crackling Drake would currently go to 6 power, bring us to 8. Yeah, I think that's fine. It could have like bolts and stuff. They know about our entire hand, though. Yeah, I still want to take this hit. Alright, so we could just cycle this Time Warp. It's really not doing much. I think I would rather try to find like a Serum Visions or... I don't know, I mean, I guess even a land lets us Gigadrowse more stuff. This part the Waterveil. I'm also not too worried about Surgical Extraction. I don't think these lists play more than 2. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I haven't actually looked at a Phoenix list in a while, but playing more than 2 seems like kind of a lot. I mean, we could save this part the Waterveil to try to naturally hit 3 lands, but again, I think I'd rather just draw a card. Really don't have much. One of the nice things now is that if we draw Dictate, cool, we get to Exhaustion the opponent if we want, take a Crackling Drake hit, and then cast Dictate, and then our follow-ups are Gigadrowse to not die. So that seems like a pretty good deal to me. Also, main deck, I don't believe the Phoenix deck runs any counter spells besides Izzet Charm, so the opponent won't be able to counter this Dictate, shy of having a really weird list. That is kind of a lot of damage. Well, we really need to cast this Dictate, though, and we're still out of double bolt range. Unless the opponent has another Phyrexian spell. Cool. So we're still out of double bolt range, and the opponent spent a bolt. So I think it's unlikely that we die to burn. And we'll have Gigadrowse to tap down the opponent's stuff. Alright. On the other hand, we could just go off now if we're really lucky, really lucky, really lucky. Medium lucky. So we do want to be careful not to spend our third part the Waterveil. But I think spending this second part the Waterveil is fine. We can definitely win with just 1 part the Waterveil left in our deck. We just need to be aware that if we draw it now, we can't cast it. Or we cannot cast it and also win the game. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's see what the opponent can do on probably 1 mana. Also, I guess let's see if the opponent discards any Phoenixes to hand size. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. Lightning Axe, okay. Well, Temporal Mastery is pretty good here. Okay. We are not going to cast Part the Waterveil right now. We need this card to win the game. Okay. There we go. It's pretty lucky. I was worried that we were going to have to pass back and Gigadrowse a whole bunch of stuff. I don't think we want either of those. Really just looking for another extra turn effect to close out the game. All right, neat. Yeah, we can't attack this turn, but that's fine. So we have an extra turn and then time warp. So this is lethal in hand. We don't really need to cast any other spells because, again, lethal in hand. I think I want to show my opponent as few new things as possible, so they already know about, I think, Gigadrowse and Echoing Truth, so I think I'm just going to discard those. These are, you know, whoops, whatever. Minor edges, but things to be aware of, I guess. What else do they want to know about this? And whatever. We run a lot of dictates. Wow. All right. Well, it's a good thing that this is lethal because otherwise the train stops there. Cool. Let's see what we have for sideboard. So I don't think we want to go crazy on Tormod's crypts, just because this doesn't do anything against Crackling Drake or Thing in the Ice, or does it work against Pteramander? It does work against Pteramander. Okay, so it does work against Pteramander, but it doesn't do anything against Thing in the Ice or Crackling Drake. So it's not like a just we win the game card like it kind of would be against Dredge. Kind of not though. Aetherspouts I think is going to be pretty decent. Echoing Truth I think is pretty decent. Negate pretty good. Not so sure about Commandeer. I think Commandeer in this matchup is primarily a force of will to win counter wars. So it's basically a bad dispel. And I think we want some Tempest Djinns. I think we are going to try to win the game with Tempest Djinn, but not try so hard that we need all 4 here. They do a good job of blocking Phoenixes, though. All right, maybe we want 3. Maybe we want 4. No, think about it. All right, delay I don't think is great because it gives the opponent an extra spell, although that's in, you know, however many turns. I think when we're bringing in Tempest Djinns, we can afford to cut maybe 2 Howling Mines and maybe 1 or 2 parts. What else to cut? This is kind of tricky. I feel like Gigadrowse is not great here, although we kind of want it to bring our opponent off counter spells at some point. I also feel like Exhaustion is not amazing, so I feel okay trimming those. Man, these last few cuts are tough. Let's see, Spell Snare is good against Thing in the Ice, so I think we want that. With 3 Tempest Djinns, we can afford to cut 1 more part the Waterveil. And I guess let's cut a land. Kind of regretted cutting the island last time, but let's see if I regret it again. All right, try it like that. All right, here we are for game 2. Opponent is going first. Sand, yeah. Tempest Djinn, Exhaustion as our game plan. We do need to draw an island for that to happen, but that's fine. We have Tormod's Crypt to potentially hit Phenai. All right, since the opponent hasn't binned any Phoenixes yet, I think I'm not going to play the Tormod's Crypt this turn. That also allows us to play around Spell Pierce or Izzet Charm by playing it after playing a land next turn. I just think it's very unlikely that we're actually going to need it on exactly our opponent's next turn. Yeah, the opponent would have needed to do something like Thought Scour this turn into at least 1 Phoenix, into, I don't know, Manamorphose looting something. Oh man, opponent kept a risky one. Okay, we could Howling Mine here, but I'm not going to because the opponent missed a land drop and we actually, you know, we don't want them to draw more cards. If we slow this game down, I think we're going to win. Okay, I think that was a pretty huge mistake on our opponent's part because if they found a land, they would much rather have played it. But I don't know, maybe they were feeling like they needed, see, did they go to the bottom? They did go to the bottom with Opt. So they may or may not have a land here. But I feel like, you know, the downside of missing a land drop is just so huge. And yeah, we're again just not going to play Howling Mine. We're instead going to try to kill the opponent with this Tempest Djinn. I don't think we need a second Tormod's Crypt, so also not going to cast that. So obviously this would be better if we had some more lands to go with it. Oh, neat. Oh, neat. So I'm not too scared about that because once it gets close to flipping, we can snap it back. Could also just Exhaustion here. We could Howling Mine here, but I feel like that's a Maybe it's a good idea. We do kind of want to hit lands now that the opponent has hit their second land drop. Yeah, I think I am going to cast this Howling Mine. It does mean we can't cast a 2-mana Snapback. We would have to exile either Cryptic or Exhaustion in case this thing is about to flip. You know, if the opponent goes Manamorphose into spell, then we definitely want to fire that off. Let's see what happens here. So I think that thing I mentioned might be happening. We're going to let the Manamorphose resolve, and then I think we can afford to let the opponent cast 2 spells. All right, let's see what happens here. So I think in response to the next thing trigger, we're going to snap back, exiling probably Exhaustion. I think having Cryptic is going to be, well, maybe chaining Exhaustions together is going to be pretty good. We'll see. Okay, there is a Phoenix. Oh man, that Surgical maybe would have got us. Okay, so in response to this trigger, I'm going to snap this back. And then do we bounce Cryptic or do we exile Cryptic or Exhaustion? I think just exhausting the opponent twice is going to be pretty good. Let's see. Let's assume we hit our land drops. So we hit our opponent for 4 next turn, exhaust the opponent, 5 the following turn, exhaust the opponent. I mean, that's pretty good, right? Yeah, okay. I just hope the opponent doesn't have another Phyrexian spell, because I will get pretty badly punished if they have something. Spell Pierce. Okay, I wasn't expecting that one. Well, sucks for me. Maybe I shouldn't have played that Howling Mine to play around Spell Pierce. Yeah, can't stop this thing from flipping. We are going to Tormod's Crypt the opponent, though, after this Thought Scour resolves. And I guess when they go to combat with the Phoenix trigger on the stack. Oh man, that turned around quickly. So I guess that was one thing to think about is now I would much rather have had Cryptic in hand, because then if we draw a land, we get to just bounce the Awoken Horror instead of casting Exhaustion. Oh man, having a Force of Will there would have been pretty okay also. Yeah, I think we just want to do this. And then, oh shoot, wait. No. I don't think we need to cast Tormod's Crypt this turn. I think we'll try casting Tormod's Crypt later. Yeah, in particular, this incentivizes our opponent to do things like discard the Phoenix now and then set up for next turn, and then we get to really get him with this Tormod's Crypt. Yeah, there's a Phoenix. We definitely want to cast this. So to cast the Tempest Djinn or to cast the Exhaustion? Definitely casting Crypt. So I kind of want to cast Exhaustion here, and the reason is, assuming we hit lands on our next 2 turns, we would get to go land Time Warp and then land Djinn. And that sounds pretty good. Our Djinns would be 6s, and then that would be lethal in the air, and our opponent would not have gotten to attack us with the Awoken Horror, nor would they have any Arclight Phoenix. And even if they get the 1/1, the Terramander, will Tormod's Crypt, yeah. Right, I think that's reason enough to do it. It's definitely close, though. It's definitely close. Okay, so... Alright, well, that kind of sucks. Guess let's Serum Visions and see what's up. Okay, so if the opponent doesn't have counter spells, then this is actually pretty decent, and the fact that we have Commandeer backup is also quite helpful. I don't think we want the Aetherspouts though. I think we're just going to try to win with Time Warps. Yeah. Alright. Spouts bottom, Time Warp top, and... So we could Tormod's Crypt now so that the opponent doesn't have a Faithless Looting, but honestly, the opponent has so many cards in hand, I'm pretty sure they have better things to do with their mana. They're going to go to 8 cards, so I'm not worried about that, and I'm going to save this Tormod's Crypt for either beginning of combat, if the opponent casts a bunch of spells, or for when the opponent casts a Terramander, so that they won't be able to monstrous it, or whatever it's called. Adapt it. Oh, opponent thought scoured us. That's a smart play. Yeah, with this Tormod's Crypt and us having Scry to the top. Very heads up play from the opponent. That's fine. Let's see, they bottomed, played a land. Surgical Time Warp. So, opponent currently has 1 Phoenix in the yard. So we get to Tormod's Crypt ourselves if we want to save this Time Warp in our hand. And I think that's worth it because I think that's the current plan is we're going to try to Time Warp to victory. Opponent's at 10, so I mean if we resolve the Time Warp, then 5 and 5, right? So the opponent does get the Phoenix back now because we did this. And if they happen to get a boatload of Phoenixes, say they, crack their Tarn, flashback looting, discard Phoenix, we are kind of in trouble. Let's see. So I want to Gigadrowse the Awoken Horror here. Maybe I want to Gigadrowse the Phoenix here. Basically, I want to beat Lightning Bolt. So if we don't Gigadrowse here and we don't block, we take 10, we go to 3, and the opponent bolts us and we die. If we block Arclight Phoenix, we take 7, we go to 6, the opponent could double bolt us and we die. So we don't beat Double Bolt without casting Gigadrowse. So if we cast Gigadrowse, we tap Awoken Horror, we maybe take 3 off this Phoenix, and then we maybe kill the opponent. This is a tough one. I feel like this is worth it, but there are definitely arguments to be made to not do this. I also would like to not block with this Tempest Djinn so that if the opponent has a single bolt in hand, we won't lose it to Arclight Phoenix block plus bolt. Oh, yeah, the opponent very smartly on defense. So I feel like we're going to get countered here if we cast this Time Warp. So another option that we have is casting Tempest Djinn, and then we can Echoing Truth either Awoken Horror or Arclight Phoenix. That sounds pretty good. We'll have lethal threats in the air, yeah. Yeah, let's go for it. We'll have Commandeer backup. So I think I'm going to wait for combat. It does mean, before casting Echoing Truth, it does mean that the opponent will get a lot more looks at counter spells. But I think I'd rather know if I want to bounce Phoenixes because, there's a Faithless Looting in the yard. We don't know. Okay. I was going to say we don't know how many Phoenixes there are going to be, but it looks like the answer is 1. And also, if the opponent taps out to replay Awoken Horror and then try to negate, okay. I wonder if the opponent's going to attack. Let's see, so we could double block. That means we die to... Our Tempest Djinn would die to Bolt. 7 power, yeah. So kill one Tempest Djinn, put a bunch of damage on the other Tempest Djinn. We could Commandeer the Bolt though, go face, they would go 7. Well, if we take this hit, we die to double bolt. If we don't take the hit, our Tempest Djinn might die. I think it's worth it to block. It's a tough one. Tough one for sure. Then the question is it worth it to Commandeer a bolt that's pointed at the Tempest Djinn? I think the answer is no, because I think we'd rather have this Time Warp and this Dictate, but that is extremely unclear to me. This has been a really interesting game. There's been a lot of very interesting decisions. Okay, cool. So the opponent didn't have Bolt. Didn't have Bolt for Tempest Djinn earlier, so I think we just attack. So one thing that kind of sucks here is I think this Time Warp is probably going to get countered. Okay. So we could just wait and then cast this Dictate and then try to cast Time Warp with counter backup, which is what I'm doing. Interesting. Guess the opponent just wants to draw spells, just trying to thin the deck. I think also putting the Dictate out there as bait for a counter spell is pretty okay. I don't think I would really mind that much if the opponent negates it or whatever. This could be problematic. The opponent could flip this very easily and stop our Djinn from doing anything. I think that might be what's happening. See, if the opponent dumps a bunch of Arclight Phoenixes in the yard, we're also kind of in trouble. See, this is second spell. The opponent only needs one more spell, so we could Commandeer that, but I don't think that's anywhere near worth it. Yeah, dumping 2 more Phoenixes and then double bolting is lethal. And we can't really... Well, I guess we could Commandeer, so we can do something about that. Alright, good. No more Phoenixes. And no Phoenix out of the graveyard either. Interesting. Alright, well, let's see what we can do. Natural Miracle? No. Alright, if we can draw a blue card, that would be great. Nice. They were in the wrong order, but that's okay. So I think I'm going to play a land and attack first, and then we get to Time Warp with Negate plus Commandeer backup. Although the opponent casts 2 counterspells, we are getting our Tempest Djinn bounced, so that is definitely reason to attack first. Interesting. So we could negate this. I don't think that's worth it though. We'd rather just protect our Time Warp post-combat. Oh shoot. Blue-black. The opponent is going to cast Surgical Extraction on Tempest Djinn. Let's take a quick look at how many Part the Waterveils we took out. It's 2. Oh, okay, that's not what's happening. That is what's happening. Okay, so we have several options. One of them is negate Surgical Extraction, and then we have Time Warp. Wait, Gigadrowse. Wait, you're not going after Tempest Djinn? That's fine, buddy. This is really weird. Is our opponent also out of fetchables or something? It's kind of strange that they didn't use the fetch a basic and then use the, maybe they only have 4 basics. I don't actually know. Okay, so there is an argument for casting Temporal Mastery instead of Time Warp here. And the argument is if the opponent has a counterspell, we'll be able to Commandeer it off of probably Negate and Opt. Then when we draw an island, we'll be able to play Tempest Djinn plus Time Warp next turn and then swing in for lethal. Our alternative is to cast Time Warp now so that we have both Negate and Commandeer backup, which is a little bit more conservative. It does allow us to opt into something, maybe. I'm going to go for hopefully winning the game. So again, the plan is the opponent casts Spell Pierce, we Commandeer, exiling Negate, and opt. Next turn we draw a land, we cast Tempest. Okay, or we just win, maybe. Hopefully. I'd really enjoy just win. There's that land that we wanted to draw. And yeah, let's see if we can go for Time Warp plus Tempest Djinn. It seems like a good combination. If for some reason the opponent wants to counterspell now, we have both Negate and Commandeer backup. Alright, cool. I think this is lethal then. Nice. See you for the next match. Alright, here we are for round 4. We've lost the die roll. So, this is not a great hand. It only has one land in it. But double Serum Visions means we're going to be able to set up our next land drops pretty well, and we've got a Dictate. I am going to keep it. Certainly not the best, but I think it'll get there. Aethervial from the opponent. Plains Aethervial is pretty interesting. Ooh, do we want another Dictate? So this is kind of tricky. If the opponent is on humans, then another Dictate might not be great because we might get Thalia'd and just be trapped under the Thalia. On the other hand, they could have like Kitesail Freebooter or something. And then if the opponent is on spirits, they might spell quell our Dictate. So we probably want this second Dictate, and we definitely want that other land. So now, even if the opponent goes land Thalia, we still have 2 mana Serum Visions, Mutavault. Wait, what's happening? Well, we're going to want another land. So we're drawing that Dictate. Gigadrowse, I think, is going to be too slow. We'd rather have something like Exhaustion, especially since it's going to cost more off this Thalia. So we aren't going to get that many taps off of it. Mikokoro to the top. I'm still confused about this Mutavault here. What is that doing here? All right, so we're taking 4 down to 16. Opponent missed a land drop, and their Vial's on 2. I'm actually inclined to not play Mikokoro here, as weird as that sounds. Just because I don't want the opponent to draw into land or draw into more gas to Aethervial in. So we don't get to cast Dictate because of Thalia. We actually don't get to do anything this turn. Selfless Spirit. What in the world is going on? Mutavault, Plains, Aethervial, Thalia, Selfless Spirit? What deck is this? I mean, there's a human, and then a spirit and a spirit, all across 3 creatures. Okay. Well, it looks like we're going down to 10. So we really need to draw something. Probably Exhaustion would be good. Island, not quite. Maybe I should have left that Gigadrowse on top. I mean, the main issue is we need both lands and action, though. Geist. Oh, okay. What in the world? Well, we're just dead to this. This is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's see if the opponent does anything weird, though. Yeah. Okay, we die. Well, we played 4 islands and 2 Serum Visions, so I wonder what the opponent thinks we're on. Anyway, I assume this was spirits, but with a human in it, with Thalia in it. So that one's probably decent. That one will be great. And I think we're on the Tempest Djinn plan. Echoing Truth also seems fine for getting rid of Thalia or maybe a Spell Queller or something. Commandeer is not great. I don't think we want a part. I'm fine with trimming 2 mines. Fine with trimming 1 more part. Gigadrowse is kind of medium if they're spirits because they have the Hexproof Lord, Drog Skull Captain, which makes Gigadrowse very bad, but they probably also have Phantasmal Image, which makes Gigadrowse pretty good. So I think I'm going to split it down the middle and go with 2 Gigadrowses. Actually, maybe Remand is worth than something. Remand and Delay actually against an Aetherspouts deck both seem pretty bad. All right, yeah, I'll take these out and add back 1 more Howling Mine and 1 more Gigadrowse. Yeah, let's try it like that. Okay, game 2, we will go first. Yeah, this is fine. We got interaction, dictate, time warp. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. We'll maybe get to Spell Snare Thalia or something on turn 2. That would be kind of cool. Hopefully the opponent doesn't have a cavern. That would be really unfortunate. Okay, so this does look like it's Spiritos. It has to be spirits with a Thalia in it, right? I'm just going to cast this because next turn we're dictating, so I just want to get value out of this while I can. Ooh, are we dictating? Or are we Tempest Djinning? I think because we don't have lands, I'm going to dictate. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to put a stop at my opponent's draw step, and then cast it then. That way the opponent will not get an extra card off the dictate this turn, and they also will not be able to play a land to get Spell Queller down. Guess I shouldn't even 6, just in case we want to snap back something. Geist of St. Traft. Guess what's good against Geist of St. Traft? A 3/4. Alright, well, it's unfortunate that we didn't draw land, but this is not too bad. Okay. I was worried that this was going to be the 1/3 Lord. I was going to say, if the opponent has 2 Lords, that would actually be insanely bad for us. Okay, so this looks like non-Bant spirits. This just looks like the blue-white spirits. White-blue, maybe? I guess there's probably more white than blue. Also, this is some nice art. Alrighty. That's fine. So if the opponent attacks, I'm definitely blocking, and then when they vial in their Lord, I'm going to... Yeah, that's fine too. When they vial in their Lord, I'm going to snap back the Hexproof Lord. Yeah. Easy block. So they're going to vial in the Lord. That resolves. And then I snap back this Lord and eat Geist. 0 mana interaction is great. We are taking a buttload of damage though, that kind of sucks. Alright, we're at 10. Yeah, that does kind of suck. Alright, Echoing Truth, pretty decent. So let's see what we're looking at here. This is 4, 4, and 2. Basically, I want to be able to cast this Dictate, but I don't know if we're going to be able to. I want to cast the Dictate because I want to draw land into Time Warp. The other issue, of course, is... Oh, well, that's a huge issue. Can we beat that? Not easily. Not easily. Okay, that's fine. So I could Echoing Truth this to try to go off now, but I don't think we quite have the resources, so instead I'm just going to cast this Dictate and see if this gets spell quelled or whatever. Okay, so we know the opponent has the 3-mana Lord in hand. Oh my god. Well, it would have been nice to have those earlier. Yeah, that also, by the way, the Echoing Truth doesn't work because of this Aetherspouts. So let's see what we can do then. So they vial in this thing. What? Oh, shoot. I was expecting the Lord. Okay. Can we win? Or I guess another way to phrase that, can we not lose? I think the answer is no. This is going to put a 4-power flyer in the air, and then we're going to be able to kill the Mausoleum Wanderer. This is 4. So what I'm thinking about is Gigadrowse for 3, targeting 1, 2, 3. Then the opponent will violent. I guess we go to beginning of combat first before we start thinking about any of this. The opponent will vial in their Hexproof Lord. We will Echoing Truth it. The opponent will use Mausoleum Wanderer, sacrifice. Oh man, that's a huge pain too. I don't think we're winning this game. Yeah, the opponent will Mausoleum Wanderer, sacrifice, counter Echoing Truth. That will make the Gigadrowses not happen. So the opponent's attackers will be Mutavault, Remorseful Cleric, Supreme Phantasm, Geist. That looks very lethal to me. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this one. It's not gonna work, but there's not much we can do about it. See if the opponent, just for whatever reason, decides not to vial in the I'll tap this one too because I don't think it actually matters. Decides not to vial in the Lord here, which would be a huge mistake. All right, I think the opponent just... I think the opponent just allowed us to win this game, maybe. Wait, no, not quite, because we need to block here. What's going on? What's going on? So we block here. The opponent vials in the Lord, and then it's a 4/4, or they sack this. Maybe we don't block. Let's see. I mean, we're super dead to like basically anything anyway. So I don't think it really makes sense for us to block here. 7. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, I guess blocking here prompts them to use the Lord, which means we can Echoing Truth. No, they have mana to recast it. Okay, never mind. I mean, our opponent's giving us a chance, which is the thing. I just don't think we can actually win without the opponent messing up even more. But there's a chance. All right, I'm going to block. Just see what happens. So we get to Echoing Truth this now if we want. Yeah. I'm going to do that, see if the opponent just leaves up like Spell Queller or something. Again, we're not winning this game without the opponent Oh, Damping Sphere. Oops. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, yeah, now it's not winning. I forgot that Damping Spear was on the board at all. Well, the opponent has their onboard counterspell, so we can't win through literally anything. So let's just do this and see if the opponent forgets that Mausoleum Wanderer has text. The opponent did not forget that Mausoleum Wanderer has text. Okay. All right. See you for the last match. All right, here we are for the last round. This hand looks pretty okay. We're probably just going to Spell Snare our opponent's turn 2 play and then Howling Mine on our turn 2. This looks like probably Dredge. That's definitely Dredge. All right, let's see the opponent's Cathartic Reunion. Bloodghast, Golgari Thug were the mills. All right, the opponent's just dredging Thug. There's a Creeping Chill. Is this 2 prized amalgams? Oh my god. That's absurd. All right, our only hope is the opponent literally not having a land, which is effectively impossible. All right, yeah, we can't win this game. We're not going to show the opponent anything else. Opponent put what 8 power on board on turn 2? Yeah, that's cool. All right, Dredge, definitely these Tormod's Crypts. I think we're probably going to win by Tempest Djinn because we really don't want to cast a Howling Mine. Commandeer is fine, and I think probably like a negate for... Oh, Aetherspouts is good. Whelming Wave is also good. Oh, it's a lot of cards to bring in. Yeah, I think having 1 negate is fine for like Cathartic Reunion or what's the other thing? Oh, Echoing Truth is good. For Cathartic Reunion or Conflagrate. But anyway, yeah, we're just basically as far off of the Howling Mine plan as we can be. We really want these Tempest Djinns to work. Remand I don't think is going to be very good. Actually, Remand is good against Conflagrate. Delay is okay against Conflagrate. It's like not that good though. Gigadrowse, not great. Having like 2 is probably fine. Exhaustion's pretty good. Maybe we can even cut 1 more Gigadrowse and 1 more cut. I think Temporal Mastery is actually going to be pretty good when we have so few dictates because it's so likely to be the first card that we draw. So I'm just going to cut 1 more Time Warp. And yeah, massively changed deck. Let's get these 12 sideboard cards in here and try it like that. Okay, we will go first this time. Oh man, this is bleh. So we have our Graveyard Hate, and we just don't have anything else. We have 1 land, a Serum Visions to maybe set up our draws, but we're both not drawing into Dictate or Tempest Djinn because we need lands. So kind of sucks to take a mulligan here, but yeah. Oh, this hand sucks too. So we at least get to like remand a Cathartic Reunion and then do basically nothing. All right. I feel like this one might even be a mulligan also, but if we can draw like a Tempest Djinn, then we have a chance. If we can draw like a Dictate, we can do something. I'm gonna keep it, but it's definitely not good. That's not good either. All right, no turn one play, that's cool. That probably means a Cathartic Reunion, and this Tormod's Crypt is looking pretty good then. So I am going to cast this. Obviously, if the opponent has like an Abrupt Decay or something, then that's not great. But I believe our opponent probably has Cathartic Reunion, so I think that makes it worth it. We do have this Remand for Cathartic. So maybe I actually should have just done that. Bummer. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess I should have waited. Could have cycled Remand, but again, I'm just going to hit our opponent's Cathartic Reunion, and then we're going to be really, really lucky and draw a second Tormod's Crypt. So, you know, no harm, no foul. Oh, that's interesting. Our opponent discarded Narcomoeba and Prized Amalgam. Those aren't even good, but do want to remand this to force our opponent to discard basically the rest of their hand. They have 3 cards in hand. I will play Mikokoro, and I kind of want to activate it before they have an opportunity to put something into the to put a Dredger into the graveyard. And the reason I want to activate it is because I want to draw a blue card so that we can commandeer their Cathartic Reunion. Obviously, this is a greedy play because we have a land on top, then this is terrible. But I'm all for greedy plays. There we go. Hopefully this will pay off. Yeah, so now even if the opponent has drawn a Dredger and they get to, out of their last 2 draws, and then they get to Cathartic Reunion, discard their Dredger, get to commandeer that. All right, what is the opponent discarding? Life from the Loam and Ancient Grudge. Okay. Let's draw 3 cards. Okay, this is cool. Ancient Grudge does not line up very well against Dictate. But we're actually going to not want to cast that Dictate until we're set up to go off, because the opponent is set up to start dredging actual stuff, maybe, depending on what they hit on that Life from the Loam. We would like to hit some spells, please. That counts. And I don't think we need this second Commandeer. I think we're just going to be in trying to go off mode after we miracle this Temporal Mastery. So I think Temporal Mastery at the top, other thing to the bottom, play our land. We're going to end step Dictate. Hope the opponent doesn't have another Abrupt Decay style card. Let's see, they dredged Life from the Loam and hit, I think, these 3. Oh no, another Cathartic. Bummer. All right, well, pedal to the metal on this dredging then, I guess. Oh, not quite. It was just Loam. Let's see, dredging Loam, Dockmore Salvage, Loam. Yeah, the opponent's been oh my god, the opponent missed so hard. Wow. That's insane. Okay. Well, that's really good for us. So let's do this. And opponent has 2 Loams in hand. Are there even any Dredgers left? Yeah, opponent doesn't have any more Dredge cards left, so we even get to, yes, we will reveal. So this turn, we get to Temporal Mastery and activate Mikokoro with relative impunity, just because the opponent's not even dredging. We would like to hit some good spells, though. Yeah, I mean, Good spells, here we come. I hope. The opponent has Ancient Grudge, so they will be able to grudge this Crypt if they want, but I think hitting a Prized Amalgam and a Looting is fine. I guess I should have thought about that, but I forgot that Grudge was in the yard. Alright, good spells, please. That almost counts. I guess I should have activated Mikokoro first in case we draw an actual Time Warp, but it's fine. I'm going to activate it now in case we draw Serum Visions. Didn't quite think about the interaction between Whelming Wave and Tempest Djinn. So we'll bounce our own Djinn, but that's okay. Oh no. Faithless Looting, okay. Double life from the loam into the yard. Alright, that's pretty good. So we'll Exhaustion the opponent. And play a Tempest Djinn. And then if we want to Mikokoro, we will. And if we don't want to, we won't. I'm inclined to say we don't want to because our opponent hitting these Narcomoebas is pretty bad. Actually, we have Echoing Truth in hand. I don't think we care. Opponent does have Stinkweed Imp in the yard, so that is a lot of dredging. But again, because we have Echoing Truth and we get to bounce all of our opponent's blockers, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Yeah, I think we will activate. Opponent is likely dredging the Stinkweed Imp. Yep. They've hit a Conflagrate. Land. I wonder if the opponent would block. They probably would. I think we just don't care that much because we get to Exhaustion and then Dictate and then either Echoing Truth or Mikokoro. Yeah, we just really don't want them casting Conflagrate. Basically, it's to Echoing Truth or not to Echoing Truth. That is the question. I'm inclined to say no. Alright, well, unfortunately, our opponent has lost connection to the game, and I've been sitting around here for 10 minutes, so we did win this match. It was close. I think we were almost certainly going to win this game, but whether or not we could win Game 3 is another question. But yeah, I guess that's that. Okay, so we kind of ended up at 3-2. Our match 5 Dredge opponent ended up disconnecting. I do think we were going to win Game 2, but you know, Game 3 is very up in the air. But we beat Blue-White Control, and we beat Izzet Phoenix, and then we lost to Affinity, and we lost to Blue-White Spirits. So I think that does showcase the strengths and weaknesses of this deck pretty well. Against a slow opponent like Control, we have a bunch of time to just hit our land drops, eventually play a mine, and then when we're ready to go off, we just Gigadrowse them and win. Against Izzet Phoenix, our opponent had pretty slow draws. In Game 1, they didn't even play a creature until turn 4, and that gave us enough time to set up. And then against those fast decks like Affinity or Spirits that are disruptive with cards like Thalia or Mausoleum Wanderer, this deck really tends to struggle. In particular, because this is mono blue, our interaction isn't great. Remand, Delay, Snapback, Echoing Truth, Spell Snare, they're all okay, but substantially more situational than a card like Lightning Bolt or Path to Exile or Fatal Push. But if you're looking to just get into this deck on a pretty low budget of $200, this is a great place to start. You'll have a lot of upgrade paths where if you have a Jace lying around or if you trade into a Snapcaster Mage, you can slot it in for any one of these interactive spells, maybe cut a Gigadrowse, maybe cut a cantrip. You have all sorts of customization options. And in particular, one cool thing that we got to leverage here with the 22 basic island mana base was playing Tempest Djinn, which is something that no other version of the deck can do. And Tempest Djinn did end up being pretty strong in many of the sideboard games that we brought it in. Even against the Spirits opponent, where we lost Game 2, Tempest Djinn still, I think, kept us in that game longer than we would have been. For example, blocking Geist of St. Traft so that the opponent had one less giant attacker. Overall, this deck is quite solid, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's looking to get into taking turns on a cheap budget. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you for the next video.